a great privilege for me to be sitting here this evening with none other than Durga McBroom, who has, a very interesting musical career, has worked with Pink Floyd live from about 1987 to 1984. 94, sorry, yes, and some other stuff with David Gilmour, which you're going to tell me about, and also has her own project, Blue Pearl, who had the classic song Naked in the Rain, amongst others. And she's here in London, I think, doing am I right in thinking you're doing another album with Blue Pearl?
Yes, I am. Youth and I have put the band back together. And might I mention,
yes,
it's McBroom-Hudson now.
Sorry, it's McBroom-Hudson. She's got married on me, and without my permission. But yes, Mr. Hudson's a very lucky man, as I was hearing earlier, but we can't put that on tape. Yes, do tell us about the Blue Pearl project first.
Well, I was actually in London last December in 2013 with a woman named Linda Perhacs. Now, Linda is 70 years old, and she's just entered the Guinness Book of World Records for having the longest period of time between album releases, 44 years.
Wow, that's some going. That's better than the Stereo MCs, which I think was 9 years.
Yeah.
Or the Stone Roses, which I think was 5 years at their
Well, I'm going to
peak.
be, like 20, but still. No, she's got
So
me.
how long is it since the last Blue Pearl?
The first one came out in 89, actually.
Right.
So, well, close. Yeah, it's going to be more, actually, anyway. So, I met with Youth last December, and we sat, and he made me a lovely Sunday lunch. Leg of lamb and roast potatoes, and we just had a long chat and really got caught up and, laid some things to rest and just decided, it's time to put it back together. And we wrote a song that day.
All right.
And then I said I was going to be back here, and we're going to pretty much complete this album in 3 days. Because when it's on with us.
Well, that's going some. So have you been sort of swapping MP3s back and forth across the Atlantic and stuff like that?
Well, we started that way. He sent me some things, and I didn't really fancy them, really. And he saw, though, when I came over, the magic with us happens when we're in the room together. It's just like that sometimes. And he likes to throw stuff at me. He'll throw a track at me, and I have to basically just spit out the first thing that comes out and shape it really quickly. Mm-hmm. And that's how we get 3 songs a day, whereas most people be lucky to get a song a week or something, so completely written.
Are you playing some of the instruments? Because you're obviously an accomplished musician as well as a vocalist and perhaps best known for your voice, but...
I play some keyboards, but on this one I'm not. I did on the first one. I did on the first Blue Pearl CD, but I'm not on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what sort of style of music would you... Could you describe it?
Yes, I can. It's... we started out doing kind of more of a techno-y, sort of retro Giorgio Moroder kind of sound, but Youth and I had the same epiphany on both sides of the ocean that we really needed to go more deep house.
Deep house, sort of.
Deep house.
Well, the passing of Frankie Knuckles recently reminded us all of the pleasures of some of that.
Yeah, and basically, when he said, I thought we should go a bit more deep house, what do you think of this? He played me a track, and I haven't been inspired like this since Naked in the Rain. I wrote the lyric in 10 minutes, and I reckon it's a club anthem, like, huge.
How do you... So that would be the single then. How would you... I mean, in the modern era, the modern musical world, do you do a video? How do you approach it? Is it a Facebook campaign, a YouTube thing? I mean, I've got no idea.
Well, no. Well, we're thinking about doing a pledge campaign here. Because he's just done, Youth's just done Echo and the Bunnymen that way, and the new Killing Joke album was done that way.
Right.
So we may do it that way, depending on what happens, because a bunch of stuff is about to happen in the next couple of months. Some of which, we want to time the release of this just after some things that are coming out that I can't talk about.
Okay.
But they're pretty massive.
All right, well, maybe we can get an update when you can.
I shall give you one.
Now, that's told us where you're up to at the moment. Let's wind the clock back and... how on earth did you get involved with the biggest band, one of the biggest bands in the world, Pink Floyd, back in '87? I mean, it must be such a prime job that lots of singers, lots of backing singers, would want to be associated with such a quality band. How did you wangle that one?
Kismet, right place, right time. I had never been on tour before, ever, and I was in New York. My sister Lorelei was recording a solo project on Capitol Records produced by Nile Rodgers, and I was there doing her backing vocals, and David Gilmour. Meanwhile, they were doing some shows in Atlanta. And as he put it, he wanted to add some color.
Right. Fair enough.
So, the man who ran the production company, Michael Pilo, recommended my sister because he was friends with her. She recommended me and another friend of hers named Roberta Freeman, who went on to then also tour with Guns N' Roses, and she's out with the Brit Floyd right now. But so we sent some pictures and a couple of tapes, and David said, "All right, you're hired." And flew us down. I went from doing clubs maybe this size of like 600 people to the Omni, which has a capacity of 15,000.
Have you? So it's been you and your sister working together.
We did on
live.
We did on 4 months of a lot of people think there was only 2 tours, and technically maybe there was, but the first tour was the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour.
Yeah. That
was 14 months long. Then we did the Delicate Sound of Thunder tour to support the live version of the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. That's the one I did with my sister. That was 4 months long.
Okay.
Then we did the Division Bell tour.
Ah, yes. Right, okay.
And I'm on the Division Bell. And then out of that came Pulse.
Right. When it comes to the Great Gig in the Sky, who's in charge of doing that?
On the tours, we split it 3 ways. But I will say this, I was paid the highest compliment I've ever been paid. Sadly, when Richard Wright knew he was dying, he set aside some money to have a celebration of his life. And he told his family to please fly me over to sing that song at his memorial service. And months later, Guy Pratt, who was his son-in-law, the bass player from Floyd, he's married to Richard's daughter, he'd come down to Argentina to do some shows with me, and we were in the middle of a radio interview, and he says, "Oh yeah, well, Richard asked us to fly you over because you did it, his favorite of anyone who's ever done it, and considering the fact he wrote it and wanted me to sing a song about dying at his memorial service." It's like, come on,
that must have been a difficult one for you to pull off with so much emotion.
Well, yeah, not to mention the fact that, I was following John Lord and Jeff Beck, and no pressure, none. And then I was going right before Nick and David came out. Yeah, it was kind of, but I did it.
How do you get on with Nick? He seems like a grumpy car collector.
No, Nick is a sweetheart.
Get out of here. He's a miserable old bugger.
He's hilarious.
Is he?
That's the thing. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
No.
He's hysterical. He's got that's the thing. He looks like some banker kind of guy,
He always looks a bit grumpy. I've seen him at a couple of parties, and I'd love to go up and talk to him, but it's too terrifying to approach.
He's really sweet.
Oh, okay. Well,
and like I said, approach him with humor and you're in. We'd be going to the show in the van. He's like reading the paper and he sees some story about some woman who's seen the face of Jesus in a tortilla or something. He's like, this is the supreme being we're talking about. You think he'd find a better way to express himself than putting his son's face in a blancmange or something. We're falling about the van.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like that.
He's really funny.
What about Gilmour? Now, he is a miserable old bugger.
No, he's not.
He's a bit more thoughtful. Is he a bit more quiet, retiring, shy?
Yeah.
He seems that
All
way.
of the above, but he also has a gravitas about him when he enters a room.
Yes.
All eyes. He's like got his own gravity well when he walks in. Just objects just start rotating around him in his orbiting because he's just. But he's very quiet. Here's the thing: if you mess up on stage, you get the smile.
Oh no, that sounds awful.
Oh, it is. It's horrifying.
What is?
He'll be playing, and he'll just turn around.
Oh no! Does that? But
like, oh God,
do you then get a bollocking later in the dressing room?
You don't need to.
You don't. The smile does it all.
The smile says it all.
Ah.
Yeah.
Killer smile. Yeah. Well, if I ever play with Gilmour, which is likely, I'm soon to buy myself a keyboard, having not played now for about 25 years, but I'm getting back into it. And I might approach him through you about playing on the new well, I haven't written the album as yet.
Right on that.
Yeah. I mean, bear that in mind, and I'll need a backing vocalist as well.
Since, of course, you're only the first person who's ever asked me to do something.
Well, yes, Gilmour, though. You've worked with him outside of Pink Floyd.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
In 2002, was it 2001 or 2002? He did some solo shows at what the heck's it called? It's near the Ferris wheel thingy here. The what's that?
The London Eye?
Yeah, it's near that venue. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, we did there and in Paris. And when we were here, the guest stars were Kate Bush.
Who you did a cover of Running Up That Hill
Yes,
of.
Yes, I did.
And she's going to be touring fairly soon.
Yes, she is. Thank you.
But you're not going to be here for that because you're going to be back home by then. It's a shame.
I know. I would
that'll
love
be
to
a
have seen
gig.
it, but it's sold out in about 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, but someone with your connections, you speak to Gilmour. David, do you want to take me to Kate Bush? All right, I'll sort it out.
But see, that's the thing. I wouldn't presume. It's a bit cheeky, really. I mean, it's not like again.
If you don't ask, you don't
No,
get.
but see, here's the thing. People don't realize. They think they're brilliant. They're the only one who ever thought of this. But multiply that by about 10,000 and you understand what his life is like. And I would not want to be one of those people. But let's see, who else was it? Bob Geldof, Robert Wyatt, and Kate Bush all did the duet Uncomfortably Numb. And guess who did it in Paris? Me.
You?
And he told me out of all of them, his duet with me was his favorite.
Oh, well, that's another nice accolade.
Feather in my cap. And he was really cross because they taped all the ones here, but they didn't tape the ones in Paris. He was really upset with himself that they hadn't taped them all.
You're over here, in London, working with youth on the new Blue Pearl album. Mm-hmm. Have you given David a call to say, hi, I'm over here, well, how about taking me to Nobu for dinner?
Well,
Or again,
no.
is that presumptuous?
For one thing, he's down in Brighton.
What's he doing in Brighton?
He lives there. He doesn't live in London anymore.
Does he live in Brighton?
Yeah.
I can't really imagine him. What does he do down in Brighton? He must be living in a massive mansion outside of Brighton rather than one of the townhouses.
No, he does. I can't remember exactly. It's not exactly Brighton, but
Yeah,
And
West.
Guy lives
Well,
down
East
too.
Sussex is Brighton. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's not up here.
He comes up for parties and
Yeah.
bits
I'm
and bobs
sure-
and openings and art exhibitions and.
I'm sure I'll see him soon enough.
Okay, well,
And
tell him thanks from all of us for a good body of music.
I
mean,
shall.
it can't be disputed.
I'm meeting Gary Wallace in about 10, 15 minutes.
Are you? Yeah. What are you discussing with him?
Do you remember that song? When we were in the bus. Yeah, that's when we see each other. It tends to be a bit like that.
Oh, a bit of reminiscing about
He's one of my
life on the
favorite-
road.
He's one of my favorite human beings in the world. Not only is he insanely talented, but he's as down to earth as they come. But he's also quite a witty raconteur. Even though he's very down to earth, all of us that are friends with him know he can weave a good yarn.
This is Gary Wallace.
The percussionist.
As I knew he was a percussionist of Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
So you're still in touch with Gary?
Yeah. And Guy. Guy's going to be playing some bass on the new Blue Pearl.
Okay. So there's a nice bit of synergy, a bit of intermingling between the two.
I've actually seen Guy quite a bit in the last couple of years because I've started doing some work with a band called The End in South America.
Okay.
Down in Argentina. They're South America's biggest Pink Floyd tribute band.
Oh,
I've
okay.
been
Because
down there.
that's the other thing. Pink Floyd seem to have spawned tribute bands that make a serious living.
Yeah.
Not just sort of the odd pub or two, but
No.
these guys put on big shows at big arenas.
Yeah.
And you've worked with a number of them, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, my sister actually is now pretty much a permanent member of the Australian Pink Floyd.
Yeah, they're the biggest, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they are. And I've guested with them a couple of times. I love working with The End because they're really... I mean, the Australian Pink Floyd is very controlled, very measured. They're very particular about recreating things note for note.
Yeah, sure.
You know.
Well, I suppose they have to be to give
No, you
it back
don't.
to the fans.
No, you don't.
Well, Floyd themselves can jam around if they want around a song, but if you're going to be a tribute act, you've really got to give it note for note.
No, you don't.
Okay, I'm wrong again.
And in fact, you know who agrees with me? Nick Mason.
What does he think about the tribute act?
He thought that the Aussies were really, really good, but he actually, through me, passed on a message. Why don't you guys loosen up a little?
Loosen up, guys.
They didn't listen. Anyway, meanwhile, the end, that's the thing. They're so talented that they are completely respectful of the original, but you get those moments of genius where you're going with the moment and your talent can back it up. Like when Guy came down, Mariano Carlos Romano, who's the second guitarist, is playing the Spanish guitar in High Hopes at the end.
Yeah.
And so he starts playing this thing, and he plays a line, and then Guy played a line on the bass. And then he played a line, and they started having this musical conversation. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. So you've got a bit more to do with youth, and you're meeting up with a couple of friends over here.
Yeah.
Then you're flying back to your home in Hollywood, Los Angeles.
No,
you're not flying to. No, you're going to Holland.
That's right. I'm going to Holland first.
There's a Pink Floyd convention.
Yeah, it's the Benelux Pink Floyd convention, something or other.
In Helmond.
Yeah, in Helmond on May the 3rd, and I'm playing with a band called In Floyd.
Okay.
And then I go back to Italy for 4 days to wait for my flight home.
And then what does the rest of the year hold?
I'm home for about 3 weeks. Then I'm back over here, starting in Spain with Linda, perhaps.
Yeah.
Then I'll be in London for about 5 days. Then I'm off to Holland again I've been working with the most amazing singer called Delana Smith.
Okay.
She is about 5'2" maybe. This huge shock of black dreads with bright pink fringe, covered in tattoos. She's Caucasian South African, the most brilliant blue girl. She's stunningly beautiful, and her voice is huge. It's really fun for me because it feels almost like when you see two thoroughbreds that are really letting it loose and running, matching each other pace for pace. I can't do that with a lot of singers.
No,
because I'll blow them off the stage.
Too good.
But I'm just loud for one thing. But Delana and I have this synergy that is really fantastic. So we're touring in Holland and Germany.
Interesting.
And then it looks like I'm tightening up a show in Spain at the end of June.
And when can we expect to see you singing here next?
That's a good question. Depends on...
Not my first good question. I think I've been asking good questions all along.
Yes, you have.
Thankfully.
It depends on when the Blue Pearl CD comes out.
Yeah, so you may be doing some promotion over then.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, thanks very much for talking to us this evening, Durga.
Pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure to find out about all of that and all the interesting projects on the go, and we look forward to catching up with you when you're next in town.
Thank you. I would love to do that, and believe me, I've got a lot more to tell you. I just can't do it right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.